up, YouTube? You already know. Big Lou tapping back in one more again with What It Do with Big Lou NFZR2. Baby, baby. Bye. So check it out. As you can tell from that thumbnail, this is my reaction from UFC 304 that went down yesterday. I'm only gonna speak on the main event and the co-main event, the two title fights. I had meant to do a video leading up to the fight, but got caught up doing other things, and before I know it, time flew and the results came out. So at the interim heavyweight title fight, it was Curtis Blaydes against interim heavyweight champ Tom Aspinall, excuse me. Aspinall or Aspinall. And this is their second fight. Both fights was their second fight. The second time these guys faced each other. In the main event, the welterweight title fight against Leon Edwards against Bilal Muhammad, and then the fight I just mentioned. So the first fight went in both fights was a different outcome than the original fight, the first fight, right? Okay, so Aspinall lost the first one to Curtis Blaydes, and this time he won. What I gathered from looking over their records, their MMA mixed martial arts records, was that, and this is only from my perspective, from my knowledge of the fight game of the MMA, UFC, right? It seemed that Blaydes had more names that I recognized on his resume than Aspinall. Doesn't mean nothing. I'm just saying from the names that, I recognize from Blades's MMA fights, I recognize like 3 or 4 different names. From Aspinall's resume, I only recognized pretty much one name. That was it. No, 2 names, excuse me. The Pitbull and then Blaydes, because they had fought before. And like I said, Blaydes won the first fight. But just like with anything in life, people get better as they go along, and Tom Aspinall obviously has gotten better, since he's been going forward in his career, right? Now, I don't know much about either fighter. I can't tell you much about either one of them, other than Tom is obviously the interim heavyweight champion, UFC heavyweight interim champion. He's also from overseas, over the pond. Across the pond, I should say, you know what I mean? And Blaydes, I know he's got it. He's been in there with, how do you say his name? Oversteer. I forgot his first name. He's been in there with him. He's been in there with Dos Santos. So I've seen some fights of his, like on the reruns, old fights on, I believe it's FX, I think it is. So anyways, Aspinall went in there, took care of business, came out on top. He revenged his loss, first loss to Blaydes, Curtis, and people are saying that they got Aspinall in, being successful in a match against the reigning heavyweight champion John Jones. I don't know. I don't know, because I don't, like I said, I'm being honest, I don't know much about the dude. I haven't really seen him fight. But just for the fact is, and you guys will notice about me, is that, I tend to stick with the OGs, you know what I'm saying? It could be a flaw on my part, but, it is what it is. I don't see him beating John Jones, but anything's possible. John Jones did have a couple very, very competitive fights against Ferguson. Is that his name, Ferguson? The big white boy from where's he from? Finland or somewhere? Gustafsson. Excuse me, Gustafsson. I forgot the name I even said right now. That was a good fight, right? That was a very good fight where it was very competitive. John Jones took some good shots and was able to stay up on his feet, but it was very competitive. And then the other fight was against Dominic Reyes, where, everybody was thinking Dominic Reyes is going to defeat John Jones because the path he was on prior to fighting John Jones. And so, and John Jones is a lot older than back then. Now, he's I'm trying to think how old John Jones is. I want to say John Jones is older than 35. I could be mistaken. Let me check. I want to check because he could be older than 35. I don't know where I put that other. Hold on. Let's see. Where is that phone? I don't know where that damn phone's at. Let me see. Let's go this route. Let's see. How old is John Jones? Okay, he's 37 years old. 37 years old. So he's somewhat. He just turned 37 years old last week. What is today? Sunday the 28th, right? Sunday the 28th. So last Sunday was the 21st. So his birthday was last Friday. He just turned 37 years old. So, some could say he's past his prime. Prime could be usually, I would say, people are on top of their game between 30 and 35 years old. More likely 32-ish, 33, like what Canelo is right now. And I think, how old is Tom Aspinall? Okay,
no, he's 31 years old.
He's 31, so he's from Salford, United Kingdom. So he's 31 years old. So he's really at the top of his game right now, right in the prime. So I would say, that John Jones don't have too much left, but you never know. He could be one of those far and in between 40-year-old champions, such as Bernard Hopkins. George Foreman did win the heavyweight title again at 40 plus. I think he was like 45. I think, right? Let me find that out because sometimes when I something's in my mind, it bothers me. How old was George Foreman when he beat Michael Moore for the heavyweight title? 45, so I was right.
According to Wikipedia, 10 years later, he announced a comeback, and in 1994, at age 45, won the unified WBA, IBF, and lineal heavyweight championship titles by knocking out 26-year-old Michael Moore.
Oh, shit, so I wasn't even aware of that. I thought it was just a single title, a single belt. So he became, because he was the heavyweight champion in the 70s, and when Muhammad Ali took it from him, right? And then about 20 years later, he won it back, right? But I wasn't aware that he won the WBA, IBF, and lineal. And like I've said this many times before, lineal championship title is just in name only. There's no actual belt. And then if you guys notice that Rocky belt that I always used to call the Rocky Balboa belt with the red and white, strap with the gold middle, that's the ring title, right? And that's an actual belt too. So you'll see some fighters wearing that. So he won the WBA and the IBF titles when he knocked out Michael Moore. I'm trying to think because I think immediately George Foreman was I believe he immediately he might not even have been able. He might not have even successfully defended both those titles, or all three titles, right? Before one of them might have been stripped before the WBA or IBF before his next bout. Nonetheless, he was 45 years old when he became a two-time heavyweight champion. Bernard Hopkins, on the other hand, was well into I think he was even 50, 51. He was still fighting. He was champion, I believe, at 49. But he made it a lot longer, title defenses. Then he went up in weight, became the light heavyweight champion. You got Tom Brady won a Super Bowl in his 40s. Carlos Beltran, he won a World Series chip in his late 30s, maybe early 40s, 40, 41, 39, something like that. Daniel Cormier, a little older when he was champ in the UFC. So is there a possibility that Pacquiao, another one, is there a possibility that he could be John Jones could continue to go at 40, 41, 42 and be the champion? Yeah, of course it's possible, but it's probably unlikely. You know what I'm saying? So, John Jones took some big hits where what I mean by that is time off, right? He just came off of injury, or I don't even know. No, let me rephrase that. He's on an injury now. That's why Aspinall is the interim champion, because John Jones wasn't able to compete um, because of some injuries. But beforehand, when they were prior talking about when they were during the time they were talking about the Francis Ngannou and him fighting, he was off for like 2 3 years. I'm not sure what for either. But then he's giving up dirties for tested positive for cocaine and I think he even tested positive for. I know he tested positive for cocaine. Did he test positive for PEDs too? I'm not sure about that, but he's taken hits on suspensions and so he's missed a good 5 6 years on just not fighting because of whatever reasons. So is that preserving him? Could that preserve him longer to go till he's 43, but he's really a 37-year-old body, for example, 38-year-old body because of 5 or 6 years off, or is it just going to overall take a toll on him for just being that age, normally being 42, 43 years old and still competing? I don't know. Obviously, like with Muhammad Ali and other fighters, Evander Holyfield, they kept fighting into their older ages when they were already showing a lot of decline, but they were fighting because they needed the money. Because obviously, when you're the heavyweight champion of the world and you have multiple kids and different things going on, your habits of spending is up there, right? So, they had to keep fighting in order to pay whatever, child support, property, whatever, right? Whatever. And they shouldn't have been in the ring, right? Muhammad Ali continued to fight. He took a few losses later in his career where he shouldn't even have been in the ring. So I think Muhammad Ali got, 6 or 7 total losses, I think. And, if you look at Michael Spinks, but at least he came back and beat Leon Spinks. He came back and beat him for the title back. Leon Spinks only had 7 pro fights when he took Muhammad Ali's belt. Excuse me. You know, Larry Holmes, he shouldn't have been in there with. Trevor Burbick, he shouldn't have been in there with. Uh, so there's extra losses on his resume that he shouldn't even have been in the ring at that point in his career. You can blame him, you can blame his corner, you can blame his management team, you can like I said, his head trainer, you can blame his family, you can even blame the state where the event took place. As far as the athletic commission, you can blame the sanctioning body, whoever sanctioned the fight. I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around why he was in the ring. Nonetheless, the reason why he was in the ring because he needed the money, right? I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it was. Obviously, it's a little bit before my time, right? But stories were written, criticism was passed along, and some was taken in stride and some wasn't. But anyways, back to the story. So Aspinall went in there. He took care of business. He showed why he's the interim UFC heavyweight champion. He showed why the only other answer for him to face next is the heavyweight champ John Jones, two division champion in the GOAT conversation. And so he took care of business. Now the other co-main event was Leon Edwards, welterweight champion, beat Kamaru Usman, beat him in the rematch, beat Kobe Covington, and then I believe he defended it twice. He successfully defended his welterweight title twice, and then lost this one to Bilal Muhammad. Again, this was their second fight. The difference was between the first and second was, I think, not that I think, it was some type of poke to the eye in the first one where Bilal wasn't able to continue. This one was a lot different. He was able to take Leon Edwards down. A few slams, he had him on the ground. He was able to take away Leon Edwards' kicks, powerful kicks. To me, it seemed like he beat Leon on the scorecard in the first round for sure, as well as the second round. But then the third round, I think Leon came back and outpointed him in the third round. But then the fourth and fifth round, besides him connecting on a Bilal and drawing a nice cut on him, he wasn't able to get going and do what he normally does. And that's, you could say he had off night, but then on top of that, you could say that Bilal did his homework and he effectively, whatever the game plan, he was able to effectively, damn, I'm trying to think of the word, and it's right there. He executed the game plan, and it allowed him to head on down the yellow brick road to victory. You know what I'm saying? And now Bilal Muhammad's the welterweight UFC champion of the world. You know, he's been calling for this title shot for a while, even before. I mean, I started hearing it a lot when Edwards had the title, but I even believe he was saying it before that with Kumar Usman. Um, so Leon Edwards, prior to this loss, he hadn't lost in almost 10 years, I think, since 2015 when he lost the first fight to Kamar Usman. That was the last time he lost. I think it was 2015. So almost 10 years since he's lost. You know, so that's definitely a big hit to Leon Edwards, especially, everybody's getting older. So, it's tougher to take losses when you get older. I mean, I believe, what I'm saying? Some guys, like, for example, Devin Haney, he's first loss and he's very young, but it seems to be really hitting him hard, you know what I'm saying? Or he can't seem to get out of his own head because of this, begging for the athletic commission to, give him back his Zoe, and that's out of the question. The best is going to be is a no contest, which I believe that's what he ended up getting. But let's see how he performs coming back into the ring. If it's still going to be in the back of his mind, is it still going to make, is his judgment going to be hazy because of, he's still going back and forth in his head because of the beating he took and how embarrassing that probably had to be for him. When you talk all that shit like that, and and it backfires on you and you lose, it's definitely got to eat your ego. You know what I'm saying? Just like with Teofimo Lopez, he lost to Cambosos. You know, that definitely had to play with him. In his mind, and I think that's why it's not good for these young fighters to be fighting for the title so young in their careers. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it's a failure. It's a setup for failure because you're so one-minded, you're so one-sided in your thought process in your mind that you take a devastating hit because you took a loss. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Floyd changed the game up when it comes to L's and losing the O. And he was able to keep going and go 50-0 without losing. But if you go back and look at all the greats over the years, besides Rocky Marciano, that just doesn't. It's not reality. You know what I'm saying? It's not reality. Leon Holmes, Larry Holmes almost was 48-0, and then here comes Michael Spinks. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Ricardo Finito Lopez finished his career 53 0-1, 56 0-1. So he was almost right there. You know what I'm saying? Um, for so-called perfect game, the analogy for baseball, because a perfect game means no hits, obviously, no runs, obviously, and then no walks. That's a perfect game. You could throw a no hitter and still have 3 or 4 walks, 5 walks, but it's a no hitter. You want the perfect game. A no hitter's good too. Don't get me wrong, but the perfect game just has the sound perfect game. So it's the same thing with boxing when it comes to having a draw on your record, but no losses. So it's like a no hitter, but it's not a perfect game. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. So besides those 4 fighters, Marciano 49-0, Mayweather 50-0, Andre Ward 32-0, and Finito Lopez 53 or 56 0-1. Those are the only 4 guys I can think of that finished their careers undefeated. And Andre Ward, he's proud to stand there and speak of his career, but able to do so with a clear mind where he didn't take no punishment where it messed up his faculties upstairs. If even hearing Shane Mosley talk sometimes, he don't sound normal. Like I don't know if he had issues with pronunciation before, but I'm pretty sure a lot of that has to do with getting punched. Um, Obviously Terry Norris sounds terrible. Evander Holyfield at times, not so much his speaking, but maybe his slow thinking. Tommy Hearns for sure. You know what I'm saying? Uh, so yeah, it's important, to do some of that stuff that Mayweather did with your career, obviously. You know what I'm saying? But Bilal was able to go in there, execute, like I said, come out with the W, come out with the belt, and we'll see what happens next. But I'm pretty sure that Edwards probably had somewhere in the clause rematch. You know what I'm saying? Rematch. So they're 1-1 right now. So we'll see what happens, and then we'll see what happens next. I mean, who else is up on the welterweight division? that's worthy of a title shot. Most of everybody else are OGs. You know what I'm saying? Like Kobe Covington, Jorge Masvidal, Nate Diaz. Uh, they're all old, considered old now. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens with that. But this is a short little video on my little uh results from the UFC 304 last night. Also, I'm debating if I'm going to do a video on Joe Joyce and Derek Chisora. Chisora came out on top in that win. I don't think nobody expected that, right? Chisora is kind of like I heard him called the Arturo Gatti of the heavyweight division. In my opinion, too, he's kind of like the Gabriel Rosado. You know what I'm saying? Where he's kind of like that stepping stone, to greatness. You know what I'm saying? Or that stepping stone to the top five heavyweight. Into the top five. You know what I mean? Something like that. But with that being said, Big Lou gonna tap on out on this one, and I wish everybody a blessed, positive remainder of their Sunday, and going forward.